Hello, my name is Rev Donna Maurer, and I'm the spiritual leader of the Sonoran Desert Center for Spiritual Living in Amado, Arizona. I'm here on YouTube with our music director, Heather O'Day, and Ruth Bennett, all the way from Ecuador, who is serving as our practitioner of the day. We thank you for sharing your time with us, and Heather will ring the bells that open our service.
Hello, my name is Heather O'Day, and I am the music director at the Sonoran Desert Center. Let's begin this morning with focusing and enjoying our bells.
I'm Ruth Bennett. I'm your practitioner for the day, all the way from Cuenca, Ecuador. I miss Arizona because it's cold and rainy in Cuenca, but I'm thrilled to be here today to be your practitioner. Donna has often talked about being grateful in what's happening, if not grateful for what's happening. So if you would close your eyes if you're comfortable, and let's take a couple of deep breaths together and move into a place of gratitude. And because God is all in all, and we are of God, we are sparks of that divine intelligence, that love, that compassion. And in that, every day, we have the opportunity to be grateful for who we are, who we have in our lives, and what we have. For the experiences of love and compassion. And as we are moving through this next week, we can spend some time every day in that attitude of gratitude, because that is who and what we are. So I am thankful for this opportunity. I am thankful for all of you. I am thankful for Heather and Donna for being able to put together this service. And the fears and concerns that we have about the future, I release all of that, because that is not what we are about. It is not who we are. We do not need to know how things are going to unfold. We only need to know that they unfold in their perfection. And we anchor this all together by saying, and so it is.
Now, if you remember, last week, I introduced a song by my friend Juliet Millard in California. And this week, we're going to do the same song, Everyday Mystic. But it has a couple of verses, and I'd like to share a verse with you each week. I am an everyday mystic. I want to see God every day, all around and deep within me. When I meditate, when I pray, light of the moon in the face of a friend, and the beautiful tune or the flowers I send, early in the morning till the long day's end. I want to see my God, because I am an everyday mystic. I want to see God every day, all around and deep within me. When I meditate, when I pray, when I meditate, when I pray.
You know, last week I began a series of talks called Sandbox Wisdom, and it's inspired by this little book, Really Important Stuff My Kids Have Taught Me by Cynthia Copeland Lewis. And in fact, it was a gift from Ruth. You know, children can sometimes be our best teachers, or at the very least, give us pause with their honesty and their way of perceiving the world. Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me, for such is the kingdom of heaven." And I think he was saying that in their purity and innocence, children often express God's kingdom of love much better than we do as adults. So our topic from this little book is, if you stay clean, you won't have fun. And when I read that statement, I went back to my own childhood, and I remembered how, growing up in the Midwest, we loved the rains, the April showers, because it meant that there were mud puddles. And we would jump in them, and if it was warm enough to be barefoot, you could feel the mud squish between your toes. I remember playing with friends and tootsie rolling down the terrace of our front house, at the front of our house, after being shot by whoever was playing the bad guy. And I remember tag football games that always ended in happy tussles in the grass. So it's true, as a child, it was fun to play wholeheartedly, not caring how dirty we got or if we picked up a bruised knee or a scratched elbow in the process. If you stay clean, you won't have fun. And the statement, metaphysically and through my adult eyes, says to me, participate wholeheartedly in life. Don't stand on the sideline. Don't be afraid to step out of your comfort zone. Don't let fear keep you from experiencing your joy or being your true self. Don't rack up regrets because you didn't follow your heart. It tells me that if I'm always trying to stay clean, if I'm afraid of getting my feet wet in a new adventure, if I'm afraid to take a risk because of what others might think, then I'm never going to experience the full magnificence of who I am, or what is this precious and sometimes messy thing that I call my life. I've been reading a book by Bronnie Ware. She's a caregiver to those in the last stages of their life. And her book is titled The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And she says the most common regret that she heard from her patients was, "I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me." It takes courage to live our own lives, to live by following our heart. But the rewards are beyond measure. Author, speaker, and shame researcher Brene Brown calls those people who have chosen authenticity as a way of life the wholehearted. And she defines authenticity as the daily practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. It takes courage to stand against the tide of what others think. E.E. Cummings wrote, "To be nobody but yourself in a world which is doing its best night and day to make you everybody but yourself means to fight the hardest battle which any human being can fight and never stop fighting." Most of us are mature enough that we have fought and won those battles to be ourselves. But I know that there are still times when I'd wished I'd stood up for myself or my opinions rather than keeping silent in order to fit in. So authenticity, I would suggest, is a practice that we engage in daily, not a goal to reach or to claim. You and I are here by divine appointment. We have come to this place in our lives to learn to live from a different perspective. The outer values give way to the inner ones, and the worth of our life is measured not in worldly accomplishments, nor in the expectation of others, but our ability to see the glory of life as it expresses through us. And we block that flow each time we stop an idea that is outside our comfort zone. When we let fear take the lead in our life, we limit the choices that we have. Our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, says fear robs memory of happiness because it dwells upon the limitations and morbidities of the past. It robs the future of pleasurable and enthusiastic anticipation because it casts a shadow of its past into the future. It robs today of the possibility of fulfillment because it denies the good we might experience in the moment in which we live. So when you and I take a leap of faith, not allowing fear to stop us, we are saying yes to that adventure. We are letting ourselves get a bit dirty, and we find out that this is fun. Now, in the mid-70s, when the aerospace industry was collapsing, my then husband, Ed, an aerospace engineer, was laid off. He was a victim of the cuts. And he brought home the contents of the drawers he had cleaned out in his office. And there were articles and articles, papers after papers, not on engineering, but on film production, computer animation, which was in its infancy, marketing and advertising. You know, it was pretty obvious what his passions were, and they weren't in the realm of engineering. Well, I knew about and loved advertising. I had worked for agencies in Kansas City and Los Angeles. So we decided to combine our interests by forming our own ad agency, believing that could be a starting point toward a more fulfilling life, one more in tune with the content of Ed's desk. We were both in Science of Mind classes, and we were regularly going to church. So we began to pray and move our feet. Since Ed was Argentinian, we placed a small ad in a trade journal offering our services as a bilingual ad agency. Well, it was truly a God giggle when the first response to our ad was a phone call from the marketing director of the cosmetics firm Max Factor. We not only got the account, but we handled their Latin American advertising for around 4 years before they decided to go in-house with both their English and Spanish marketing. With Ed's contacts in engineering, we were able to pitch our agency to one of the divisions of Weir Sigler, and we won that account over a huge New York firm, and we could hardly wait to get home so that we could yell out loud. Those two accounts and other smaller ones allowed Ed to follow his bliss, and in 1982, he partnered with two friends to form Image West, a computer animation company. They did most of the cutting-edge graphics for the 1984 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles, a great deal of the Super Bowl that year too, along with other clients, both here and overseas. You know, back in 1975, when Ed came home with his box of drawer contents, he was at Choice Point. He was an exceptional engineer, and even with a downturn, he needed only to make a phone call or two to be employed elsewhere. That would have been safe. That would have been clean. That would have been pretty much risk-free, but it wouldn't have been fun. It wouldn't have been the adventure, or as Ed called it, the ride of a lifetime. The second regret, I wish I'd had the courage to express my feelings. In her book, Bronnie Ware says that many of her clients had suppressed their feelings in order to keep peace with others. And as a result, they settled for a mediocre existence and never became who they were truly capable of becoming. And many, she said, developed illnesses relating to the bitterness and resentment that came as a result. The beauty is that if we are feeling any of this disconnect between how we feel and what we are expressing, we can change it. And I know it's true because I've done it. I used to be terribly afraid of confrontation, and I would avoid it at all costs. But what I've come to find out is that confrontation isn't the problem. Expectations are. If I expect dissension or anger, then chances are that will be my experience. But if I realize that what I want to do is express my feelings honestly and with love, without expecting anything from the other person, then I am diffusing the chance of an angry response. Stating how I feel as honestly as I can allows the other person to be honest too. And keeping feelings to myself, harboring resentments, only leads to an unloving relationship that will probably blow up at some inappropriate time. We need to remember that expressing our feelings is not about changing the other person's mind or having them act differently. It's about the integrity of our word and having who we are, what we say, and how we act be in accord. Bronnie says, although people may initially react when you change the way you are by speaking honestly, in the end, it raises the relationship to a whole new and healthier level. Either that, or it releases the unhealthy relationship from your life. Either way, you win. And the third regret is I wish I had let myself be happier. Again, Bronnie writes of her clients, many did not realize until the end that happiness is a choice, but we can make that choice at any time. She tells the story of Rosemary, who had made it into the executive world and learned the art of intimidation as a young woman. When Bronnie came to care for her, she was mean, bitter, and controlling. Bronnie immediately set up boundaries, requesting there be respect between the two of them. And from there, the relationship began to change. And one day, Rosemary asked Bronnie why she was always so happy. And Bronnie said, because happiness is a choice, Rosemary, and one I try to make every day. Some days I can't. Like you, I've had a hard life in different ways, but still hard. But rather than dwelling on what's wrong and how hard I've had it, I try to find the blessings in each day and appreciate the moment I am in as much as I can. We have the freedom to choose what we focus on. I try to choose the positive stuff, like getting to know you, like doing work I love, and appreciating every day of being alive. Rosemary wanted to be happy, but she didn't know how. So Bronnie suggested, well, just pretend to be for half an hour. Maybe you'll enjoy it enough to be actually happy. Just the physical act of smiling can change your emotions. In fact, I dare you to not frown, complain, or say anything negative for half an hour. Instead, say nice stuff. Focus on the garden if you must, but remember to smile. And as Rosemary began to follow Bronnie's advice, her countenance changed and she did begin to smile more. She let go of past failures that had kept her from being happy and was able to find more and more of those moments of pure happiness, even as her life was ending. Arthur Chang in the New Positive Spirituality says, happiness is available to everyone. The great mistake is in assuming that happiness is dependent on something that we do not presently possess. Happiness is dependent only on our attitude, our willingness to choose to be happy, as preposterous as it might seem. When we make a conscious choice to be happy, then we're automatically making a choice to participate in the world. We are choosing to be in the flow of God's goodness, love, creativity. Even with the restrictions that come with this pandemic that we're in, we can still live our life with authenticity. We can still have the courage to express our feelings with love. We can still choose to be happy. And let's remember the mud puddles of our childhood and the sandbox wisdom. If we stay clean, we won't have fun. Thank you. Namaste.
When the world is kind, when there is no fear, when your neighbor knows that heaven is right here, when we put down the walls and show the way, that will be the day when borders fall and politics too, and divine mind is all that shines through, and all that kids need to do is learn and play. That will be the day that queens and kings who reign supreme are succeeded by peace. The dreams and hopes of you and me are free of disease. The outstretched hands of poverty are now raised in sweet release, and we will be in harmony. When you get more than what you sent, when you can feel the hug of a good friend, bloom and grow, leave the seeds where they may. That will be the day that kings and queens who reign supreme are succeeded by peace. The dreams and hopes of you and me are free of disease. The outstretched hands of poverty are now raised in sweet release. And that will be, yeah, that'll be the day.
Thank you, Heather. That's beautiful, and thank you for joining us today. Now, we would like to continue our messages with you, so we would greatly appreciate your financial support. Please visit our website, cslaz.org, and click on the donate button. We thank you so much for your consideration. And now I turn our service over to Ruth for our closing affirmative prayer.
As we move into this next week, we know that to have the fun that life is meant for us to have, we need to get involved, and we need to lean into the dirt, the fun, the expansion, the wholeness, the God. And that to the extent that we do that, we live all the facets of our life, not just the family or the business or the retirement, but the fun and the community and the growth. And I'm grateful to have this knowledge and to have this wisdom and know that the wholeheartedness is possible to the extent that I live that life of fun and that life of achievement and acknowledgement, but not getting caught in the negative, learning to let that go. So as we wind up this service, I urge you to get down and get dirty, to have the fun that is meant for us to have. Know that I am with you. You are with me. Namaste and goodbye for this week.